So we're going to be learning how to use the mobile app to log our work. We'll be going over three closely related workflows. The first is signing in or out of a shift to log our hours for the day. The second is logging a work order. This includes emergency or scheduled repairs or any other type of miscellaneous work. The third and last is working on and completing a preventative maintenance. In addition, we'll see how we can pause and continue our work, as well as look at the maintenance history of any piece of equipment. Before we can do any of that, we have to sign into the app. Enter the username and password sent to you, and then tap Remember Me so you don't need to enter this information again the next time you use the app. So we enter our username up here, our password right here, and then make sure that we tap Remember Me to see this green check mark. Now, every time we open the app, all we have to do is tap Login to get started logging our work. This menu may seem somewhat confusing, but we only need to concern ourselves with two menu options here to achieve any of our three workflows. That is, start a work order, right here, and look up an asset, down here. We need to learn a few simple steps to log our hours for the day. As an overview, once we start our shift, we select the building we are physically located at the start of the day, and then fill out some basic information describing the sign-in. Then we're going to submit the sign-in to save the record. At the end of our shift, we will perform almost exactly the same workflow to sign out, logging the end of our shift. To get started logging our hours for the day, we tap Start a Work Order right here. Now we will see a hierarchy of all of the equipment we may work on. In this example, I can see HVAC equipment, escalators, elevators, and more. In addition to those pieces of equipment, I can see a couple of buildings and a building complex. You may work at a location with complicated building complexes or a long list of separate buildings, or perhaps just one building. The simplest way to select the building we are starting our shift is by searching the name with the search bar up here. The one I'm looking for is called Mock Building, so I'll type that in now. So the matching building is going to have this red underline, and then I'm just going to double tap the building. Notice it says Loaded Template Sign In Sign Out at the top. That confirms for us that we made an appropriate selection to do a sign-in. Below that, we can see in green the name Mock Building, confirming we chose the building we intended. But other than taking a glance at those two things to make sure we didn't make any mistakes, there's nothing we need to do here. Just scroll down to the bottom and tap Start. Now let's scroll down until we see our instructions. So let's tap In to specify we are signing into our shift and not out of it. If you have a physical sign-in, sign-out sheet, your employer may require you to sign in there and then take a picture of it. So tap Yes, and then it will allow you to attach the picture, or tap No if you don't have one, don't need to, or cannot. I'll tap No, tap There is no sign-out sheet if you don't have one, or if there's a different reason why you can't take a picture of your sign-in sheet, tap Other Reason, and then type the reason. So I'll tap There is no sign-in sheet. Next, tap your name. If it's not listed, tap Other, and type your name. Lastly, do your best to sign your name with your finger, and then tap Save. To submit your sign-in, just scroll down and tap Complete. You can ignore this screen for sign-ins and sign-outs by just tapping Complete one more time. And that's it. You successfully logged your first sign-in. I'll cover sign-outs a bit more quickly because, as mentioned earlier, it's essentially the exact same process. So tap Start a Work Order, search the building name where you're physically signing out from, or if you see the building name, you can tap it directly. So I see Mock Building here. I'll double tap. Scroll down, then tap Start. Scroll down to Instructions. Now tap Out. The first thing a sign-out will ask you for is a work summary. This can be as brief or as detailed as you see fit. Then we need to specify if we need a facilities supervisor's sign-off. Some clients require it, some don't. So answer as is appropriate in your situation. If we tap Yes, we need to get his or her name, title, and signature. Make sure to tap Save after you get the signature. Now the rest is exactly the same as before. That's it. You successfully logged your first sign-out in addition to your sign-in. Let's learn how to log a work order. This includes emergency and scheduled repairs, as well as any other type of miscellaneous work other than a preventative maintenance. As an overview, we will select the equipment we're working with, specify what type of work order we are performing, and then provide all the information relevant to our work, including downtime and attaching pictures. To begin, tap Start a Work Order. Then we'll search the name of our equipment. Once you found the name, double tap. Then we can quickly visually confirm the loaded template says work order, and beneath it the green text has the name of the equipment we intended. Then we can scroll down to the bottom, tap Start. So before we scroll down to the instructions, notice the timer here. The moment we tap Start, a timer began, tracking the time we spend on this work order. So to accurately log the time you spend working on this equipment, it's important to perform the work in this flow. First, start the work order on the app to begin tracking time, as we've done. Then, you may want to answer some preliminary questions on the app, such as the type of work order or taking a picture of the problem before you repair it. Next, physically do whatever is necessary to complete your work order and enter information into the app when you think it is appropriate. Finally, you may want to check your work and then submit your work order through the app. A quick note, if you're performing some kind of emergency repair where time is critical, it should go without saying that you should not use the app before you're dealing with a safe situation. With that out of the way, let's take a look at the instructions specified in a work order. The first thing we are asked is the type of work order. If we're performing an emergency repair, tap Emergency. If we are performing a scheduled repair, tap Scheduled. And if we're doing anything else, tap Miscellaneous Request. Remember, as mentioned earlier, this does not include preventative maintenances, which is a separate workflow. When we tap one of these options, we will see a different instruction set. See, this is the instruction set for emergency repair, and then now here, this is the instruction set for scheduled repair, and this is the instruction set for miscellaneous request. In this example, I'll perform an emergency repair by simply answering each question. Since I'm not next to an elevator, I'll pretend to repair my computer instead. So, for perceived cause of the shutdown after investigation. Now, can you attach a picture of the problem before starting the repair? I'll say yes, and now I have the option to attach a picture. I can either take a picture on the spot or upload a photo I've saved. I'll take a photo. Tap Use Photo. And it's saved. I can also attach multiple photos if necessary, perhaps for different angles or distances. Let me demonstrate that now. I'm just going to tap Attach File again. Use Photo. And I have two photos. Alright, so next I'm going to be asked to take another photo. This is for a picture of the repair upon completion. You can do the same thing, tap Yes, Attach File, and then take photo. Use Photo. Now it's asking me for a description of the work performed upon completion. Now we've come to the conclusion. Every type of work submission will ask us these same questions, whether we are performing a repair, miscellaneous request, or preventative maintenance. Were parts replaced during your service? So if yes, which parts? But I'll always say no. And same idea for which parts were not available at the time of repair. I'll say no again. Post-service status of our equipment. We can say it was left in service, or it was left shut down, and if so, why? I'll say it was left in service. Then this is going to ask us to confirm all of our pictures were attached, so we don't forget. I'm going to say confirm. And now it's going to ask us for our name and signature. So, here's my signature. Tap Save. Signature saved. Now, at the very bottom, there's a section for completion notes. So here we just want to enter any additional information relevant to the work order that was not included elsewhere. May be helpful, may not be, depending on the situation. Then we'll tap Complete. If we started the work order on the app before physically starting our work and tapped Complete once we are finished with our work, we should see an accurate time worked here. The very last step is specifying if our work caused unplanned downtime, and if so, how much. So I'll say yes, and we just tap the plus and minus signs for hours and minutes to specify your best estimate for unplanned downtime. So let me say 2 hours flat of unplanned downtime. Now just tap Complete, and we're done. You successfully completed your first work order, and you now know how to log your work for an emergency repair, scheduled repair, or miscellaneous request. Let's learn how to log a preventative maintenance. As an overview, we will select the equipment we are maintaining, navigate to the asset page, go to the PM section, and then follow all of the PM instructions, just like a work order. To get to the asset page, tap Look Up an Asset down here. Then search the name of the asset we're maintaining. Double tap the name from the list once you found it. This is the asset screen. We can visually confirm we accessed the intended asset by glancing at the top, up here. This will also tell us what kind of asset this is and where it's located. So we can see that the name is Misc Hydraulic Elevator. The type of asset is elevators hydraulic, and the location is the Misc building alternate. Then we can tap this wrench icon right here to access the PM section. Now let's scroll down until we see the Open PMs area. And this is where we access our PM instruction set. Just a couple things to note before we jump in. This is our PM status. It's an O for open, which means the PM has not been started. Instead of O, it could say IP for in progress, meaning it has been started but not completed. The other thing is the date down here. That's our due date. And just to the right in green is the number of days remaining until that date. A brand new PM will be created for the next month that you can work on instead. With that out of the way, let's tap this area right here to start the PM. Right away, I'll note the time tracker works exactly the same as work orders, so make sure to follow the same workflow to accurately log your time worked on the PM. As a reminder, the idea is getting to this screen before you start your work, which will start the timer. Now, let's scroll down to the instructions to get an idea of how a PM instruction set looks. It is quite a bit longer than any work order instruction set, so I'm just going to scroll all the way down to give a quick overview. In this example, I have a hydraulic elevator, so I'll see special sections that are specific to hydraulic elevators. So let's just take a look now. So we can see we have the motor room monthly section. This will be shared amongst all motor rooms, regardless of the type of elevator. So scroll down and we see there is a hydraulic motor room monthly section, which are motor room instructions specific to hydraulic elevators. Scroll down, we can see there's a hoistway section, a cab interior section, a pit section specific to hydraulic elevators, and at the end we see the conclusion and the sign-off, just as we've seen in the work orders. So let's go back to the top and see what each instruction is like. Almost every instruction is going to have a drop-down section with the same set of possible responses. That is satisfactory, unsatisfactory, or not applicable. There's also incomplete, but don't worry about that option. You should never pick that one. To choose a response, simply tap the drop-down menu here, and then tap an option. So if I tap S for satisfactory, I'm done. Now I can move on to the next instruction. Now I'll tap NA for not applicable. For the third instruction, I'll tap U for unsatisfactory. This will force us to provide notes explaining why this instruction was responded with an unsatisfactory condition. So that is the process for each of these instructions, without much variation. The only other type of instruction you are likely to see are picture instructions, and ones that ask you to enter a number, such as the amount of freon added to a cooling system. Once we execute all of the instructions listed in our PM, we will see the exact same conclusion and sign-off section as work orders, as well as an area to optionally enter completion notes. And finally, an option to report any downtime. And that's all there is to it. PMs are reported essentially the same way as work orders, with the only major difference being how to access them. There are many situations where we need to stop our work and come back to it later. Maybe we are called for an emergency repair, we don't yet have a necessary part, or we are working on multiple assets simultaneously. The app makes this very simple because your work is always saved. You never have to worry about losing your progress. The overview for pausing a report for a work order or a PM is that we first leave a comment describing why we are pausing our work. This will notify all interested parties of your comment. Then we can simply exit the report any way we want, since it is always saved. To continue the report, we will navigate to the asset page, go to the work order section to continue a work order, and we go to the PM section to continue a PM. It is actually the same way we start a PM. I'll quickly start a work order that I will pause and come back to. Before I pause the work order, I want to mention the comment section at the bottom. This is useful whenever we need to pause our work and come back to it in the future. By tapping Add Comment right here, we can describe why we had to stop our work and include any details about when we will continue. This will automatically send a notification to all interested parties and include a timestamp of the comment. As you can see, we can optionally attach a photo or video here. Just tap submit when we're done. To exit this work order, which is automatically saved, I'll tap this arrow up here. To continue the paused work order, tap look up an asset down here, search the name of the asset, double tap. Then I'm going to tap this clipboard icon right here, third from the left, just to the right of the wrench. In the Open WOs section, I can see a list of every work order assigned to this equipment that is not complete. In this case, just the one I created a few moments ago. I can tap this area right here to continue working on it. Now I'm back in the familiar work order and can continue tracking my time, adding information, and complete the work order. We can pause and continue the work order as many times as we like. Just make sure to add a comment each time we pause to keep a record of our pausing the work order. Now I'm going to quickly go over what it's like to continue a PM. It's pretty much the same exact process with a slight exception of how to access it. So I'm going to go back here. Instead of tapping the clipboard icon, which brings us to the work order section, we're going to tap the wrench icon, which is the PM section. If I scroll down, I can see in the open PMs, I have an IP or in progress PM. So I can continue it by just tapping this area right here. And this is going to let me open the PM that's in progress. Same idea as work orders. Anytime we pause, and we can do this as many times as we like, just make sure to add a comment to keep a record. And that's it. Really quickly, we'll go over how to view the maintenance history of an asset. This includes PM history as well as any work order for a given asset. For an overview, we'll search the name of the asset we want to see the history of, navigate to the asset page, go to the PM section for PM history, or go to the work order section for work order history. From either section, we will see a summary of the work logs recorded on the asset, and we can open any one to see the full report. To start, we tap look up an asset down here, search the name of the asset, and double tap. For the work order history, tap the clipboard icon right here. Now scroll down until we see completed WOs. We can see a summary of our completed work orders in this section. Each summary will tell us the due date, when it was completed, the time spent on it, and who was completed by. If we were to tap on the blue text of any one of these, we could view the entire report. I'll tap on the latest work order to get an idea of the recent maintenance history of this asset. And as you can see, this is the work order we completed earlier, with every piece of information included. Now let's tap the arrow at the top right to go back, and check out the PM history, which works pretty much the same exact way. Just tap the wrench icon for the PM section and scroll down to completed PMs. In this example, it just says there are no completed PMs for this asset, but if it had at least one completed PM, we could access the full report